Hi, hi. How is everybody? Welcome in tonight. What's going on? Hey, Cash. Loving all that shady niceness stuff. Yes. Oh, Amethyst Wolf. Hi, baby. Rock a bit. Jay. Don't expect a whole lot of people, but there are replay crew, which I appreciate. So, tonight we're going to talk about triggers and how to recognize them and how shadow work can help you. So, we'll be right back. Oh, remember to like, subscribe, and set the bell to all. Thanks.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows.
If you're someone who's been feeling alone, this world can be a little scary. So come talk to Grandma Sherry.
Hi, hi. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so we're in episode 4 of Shadow Work. Just a reminder that all the information presented is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. And we've talked before that shadow work can bring up some pretty heavy stuff. And if you feel like you need the help of a therapist or somebody, by all means, or reach out to people, someone you can trust, someone who can give you some honest feedback, sort of thing. So, triggers tonight. Just real quick, a recap that shadow work is to assist to become less reactive to the feared item or the situation. And we've all had places where we've experienced something and it's triggered us. It made us afraid, or it made us anxious, or it made us angry. And the shadow work here is to help us recognize these things, that they're actually portions of us that have been suppressed, whether from childhood or in adulthood or wherever, but they end up looking like things like self-sabotage or limiting yourself or people pleasing or shame or analysis paralysis, where you just can't make a decision. I hope. And so what we're going to do is dig in tonight and just try to recognize where it starts. And then we're going to dig down into what caused it. And with shadow work, what we do is it's not getting rid of something in your life, and it's not, healing from it. What it is a method to accept those things in your life, accept those things that hurt you or hold you back, and to incorporate them into yourself, into who you are. Hey, Bella. Hey, Bella. So basically, it's like a reframing and a restructuring. So our shadow self usually forms in childhood due to environmental factors. Hey, Steph. Hi, baby. When we act a certain way and we're told to stop, or it's even punished, then it's only natural that we want to stop acting that way. We'd want to suppress that trait consciously or unconsciously. Thus, the shadow self develops. Can you recall being punished or told to stop when displaying certain traits as a child? Which ones? And what was the reason your parent or caregiver gave? I know that my dad, whenever I cried about anything, because we used to have these cacti that were planted outside the front door of our house in California when I was growing up. And I, being the natural Princess Grace that I am, fell into them quite frequently. So frequently that my dad had a special box that had like the tweezers and the mercurochrome and all that stuff. So he could get me into the bathroom and pull out all the cactus needles and stuff from me, right? So whenever I cried about that, my dad would tell me, stop crying. You know, if you were less clumsy, or you know these things are out there, why don't you avoid them? That kind of thing. That I got to the point where I was no longer vulnerable in my life, because deep down I had a feeling that I'm not going to be taken care of by anybody but me. I'm not going to be taken care of by anybody but me. And so I ended up squashing all of my emotions. For asking why didn't matter what I was asking about. Oh, yes, punished for being sick. Yes. Hi, Bob. How are you, sweetheart? I need to talk to you. I got a thing about Megan's Law that I want to talk to you about. Okay, so you can't change the past. And technically, we're not promised tomorrow. So what we can do right now is mindfulness and how we're living this minute, this day. I mean, I'm in the flight path of the airport here in Lubbock. Heaven forbid we should have like an Alaska Airlines flyover or a United Airlines and they lose a door mid-flight and it comes crashing into my little garage apartment and that's it. But I get to choose. I get to choose how I live my life. Do I want to be in constant fear or anger? Or do I want to live in peace and love and compassion? And that's what we're doing here tonight. So, shadow motivations, the things that cause us to react the way we do, I think we're all shit at mindfulness, to be honest with you. But shadow motivations are motives that we have that are unconscious, that propel us in certain directions. And one of the things I want to start off with is what? That's not normal? What? That's not normal? You know, if you grow up in a situation, and I'm really bad at analogies, and I hadn't really pre-thought this one. But if you grow up in an environment where all the adults get drunk at night, they all get drunk at night and maybe they fight in the backyard and, you know, that kind of thing. Or heaven forbid, you're in a situation of DV where it just seems kind of normal that your dad gets pissed off and, you know, hits you or your mom or something along that line. When you're growing up in those situations, at the time, until you're exposed to something else, you don't realize that everybody doesn't live that way. You figure everybody lives that way. I had some people I knew that I went to church with, and they didn't allow their children to listen to anything but Christian music. And it couldn't even be off the radio. At that time, it was cassette tapes. Hey, yep. Yeah, stepmom tries to stab me. But they couldn't even listen to, you know, Christian music if it was on the radio. It had to be on the cassette tapes. They had no television. They didn't go to movies, and they really didn't associate with just a few other families. The weird thing was that this mom, hey, Nanya. Oh, the bouncer at the door. Yes, he's a good one. Um, anyway, so the mom used to feed the kids poison ivy. I'm going to repeat that. The mom used to feed the kids poison ivy so that they could build up a tolerance to it. Needless to say, they had like 9 kids or something, but the kids were sick a lot. And until they came to the church that I was going to, and the other kids said, wait, she does what? They had no idea that that was not what everybody else did. And when my kids mentioned things like movies or Disney or something that they've seen, those other kids had no idea what they were talking about. And those other kids figured that everybody else lived that way. So when we're experiencing something in our environment, and it might not be like traumatic while you're a child and going through it, but when you get older and you realize that's not right. Not everybody lives that way, and you learn a better way of living. You learn that there are other families that do things differently. Then that's when the trauma comes. And you're like, what the hell? My family was absolutely dysfunctional. And to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure that we have any fully functional families. I don't think there's any, I don't know, leave it to beaver sort of people left in the world. And even if you look at Leave It to Beaver, they've got some weird dynamics going on there. But the point is that oftentimes it's not a specific thing that we can point to, but it's just an idea. It's just an idea that somehow or another that we've said, this is bad. Yeah, I'm not sure there are any families like Leave It to Beavers. No. Gee, Ward, do you think you were a little hard on the beaver last night? Sorry. Anyway, so the point of our shadow work is that we can feel the pain, the confusion, the frustration, the fear, the pain. It's like Plato's allegory of the cave. You learn more and more as you step outside the cave. Yes. And that's something that we're going to do with shadow work, is figure out this thing. We're actually going to go deep in the cave, but we're going to step out of it. And we're going to learn to accept it. It's part of ourselves. It's part of me. It's part of you. So I've been posting up some prompts on my community page, my community wall. I don't know, whatever that thing is called, for you to work in your journal. Has everybody been doing their journal, or at least, taking some notes of the prompts and things like that? I know it's a hard thing. I know I've been doing it. And to be honest with you, it's hard. It's a difficult thing to do. And it's often painful. And if you can't take that time to do some self-care, to love yourself, and that's what we're aiming for here, guys. That's what we're aiming here for, is to love yourself. Because when you love yourself and you trust yourself, then what other people say about you doesn't matter. If somebody acts maliciously toward you, it doesn't matter, but you do have your boundaries, and you know when someone has crossed them and you need to step out and protect yourself, or if it's something that you can just brush off. So you're not highly reactive anymore. I know that there are sometimes I don't have them as often as I used to, but I yeah, we all need an an instruction book to help guide us. Yeah, we all do. Your journal can actually start to be that. The more you use it, the longer you use it. I know that I refer back to my old journals, my old shadow work journals, and I see how far I've come. Being autistic, I masked for so long, and I just pretended to be somebody else, just to fit in and to make sure that, what I was saying or doing wasn't embarrassing to myself or other people or whatever. And there were so many things that I basically repressed and that I hid. I put in my shadow. And as I went through these things, number one, knowing I'm artistic, but number two, recognizing kind of where they stem from and how not to be reactive, to be proactive. If I need to do something, let me see if I can clarify this, because I think in pictures. So if you could see the pictures in my head right now, it looks like Monet and Picasso got together and had babies. But oftentimes my proactive is me, is that I know that this is coming, or there's a possibility that this is coming. And so I work through the hurt and the embarrassment and the shame and whatever else is going to go, I think I'm going to go through within myself, within my meditation time, within my prayer time. And I prepare myself. I gird my loins, if you will. But that helps me not to lash out. Oh, yes. So many people are starting with the organization of their personal space. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I love that. Audacity is like the goddess of organization. So the shadow work is about uncovering your shadow self and growing from it. It's also about accepting and forgiving yourself for these traits. And forgiveness doesn't mean that we give ourselves permission to continue being destructive or engaging in behaviors that hurts ourselves and others. No, 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 no. It means acknowledging that we're human and that we can grow. What do you like about yourself? What shadow traits have you discovered and you actually quite like? We don't have to delete our shadow traits. We don't have to get rid of them. If we're healed from them, just means that they don't hold the pain in our story anymore. No, I want to see the basement birdhouses. Anyway, um, we may need to work on some things, but some shadow traits like being loud and extroverted, for example, are actually just part of our personality. And we've been conditioned to believe that we should hide them. The people that feel like they don't stand up for themselves. Yeah, you can just say what you like about everyone else. Yes, yes. But the thing is that, and I had the feelings wheel. Remember that? I had a question, where's my feelings wheel? A new member saw the community post for some of the prompts, and I said, use the feelings wheel. And they asked, what's the feelings wheel? And so I didn't answer. Dang it. Yeah. No. Sorry about that. Here. Okay. So trigger. Remember I talked to you briefly about something called alexithymia? And that's the where you don't really recognize what feeling you're having. That often comes with autism. That autistic people don't recognize what they're feeling, and so they can't express themselves. You've adopted that it's okay to be confident and use your voice. Yay! Raisins, I don't think there's any bodies in the basement, but well, we'll go beyond that, okay? Anyway, so so here's the thing. If you hear a story online, or you see somebody being treated a certain way online, and you feel disgusted by it, we'll use this, okay? This is how the feelings wheel works. I'm angry and I'm disgusted. And so we know that, that's from Pinterest, woo! But we know that these are the general feelings that we're having. But why are we angry or disgusted? Do we feel let down by the person? Did we have some sort of expectation for them? Do we feel like that person is being way too critical of somebody else? Do we feel that that person was disapproving? And as we explore these, we can get down into some deeper areas. And it can go from the outside in. If we feel disrespected, why did we feel disrespected? Were we let down? Were we humiliated? Does that make us angry? See how that works? So that's why I say use your feelings wheel. Use the feelings wheel. What's going on? How come it's hardest to use your voice with family, like sisters? Probably because we're raised to love your sister. Don't treat her that way. Don't talk to her that way. That sort of thing. I would assume. I was raised as an only child, so I didn't have that. But I do know that family is tough. Family is probably the toughest to interact with. Even your children or your spouse, you know? And you show no emotion with your sisters, but why? Because you're going to be attacked? Because you don't feel safe? Because you feel like you have to protect yourself? And I'm not I'm not highlighting these comments because I've also repressed the live chat. So on replay, people can't see what's going on here. And I might say hi to some people, but I'm not highlighting things because this is our safe space right here. So family are a distinct entity in mind, separate from issues, but also so intertwined. Has taken me many, many years to work it out and still learning. Yeah, that's good. Showing emotions with family is like from trauma and fear. Yes. Yes. Family knows you the best and you know them the best. And they can see and hear through things. So unless you're totally willing to be honest with each other, most times it's easiest to shut down, in your opinion. Yes. Yes. And I raised 4 kids, sometimes 5, but the one kind of came and went with her mom. But I know the way my kids talk to each other as siblings. They were not nice. The weird thing is that if one of them was really breaking down or having a hard time or being bullied or something, they were the first people to be there for each other. They would go to each other to talk about things before they came to me or my husband at the time. And at the same time, they just had this thing. Now that they're grown and they're all adults and they have all their own lives and whatnot, they don't contact each other. We don't live close enough to each other to actually get sorry. My brain is spewing out things and my tongue is saying, slow down, oh my God. Squirrel. Sorry. But we don't live close enough to each other to do holidays and, special occasions, things like that. And so it's not like they're forced to get together and interact. So what they've chosen to do is not interact. Sometimes walk away is the best. Yeah. Family is a whole mixed bag of nuts. Walking away is one of the hardest things you can ever do, but the level of peace you receive is beyond imaginable. It's true. It's like that with romantic relationships. It's like that with friendships. It's like that with family. Toxic is toxic. Just because you guys share DNA does not require you to, allow them into your life to be toxic with you. So the thing is, especially about shadow work, is to get down into those questions. Like, why don't I feel safe? Why don't I show emotions? Or how come I have way too much emotions over this? That's what the thing is. And so the start of all of this is to give yourself enough time, enough breathing space, mindfulness, right? Meditation, prayers, go for a walk, do something, lock yourself in the bathroom and put on headphones, whatever. But just be with yourself. Because if you're not with yourself enough to understand where you're coming from, you're going to have trouble working with everybody out there. Does that make sense? I see in the YouTube streets, they call it tit for tat. Has nothing to do with breastises. Breastises? Tit for tat. You say this, I'm going to react that. You do this, I'm going to do that. Why do we need to do that? Why? And I hear a lot of people say, well, you lied about that. And, you went and you said all of this stuff and it's wrong and I'm going to correct it. And on and on and on. And that's to protect yourself. That's to clear your reputation or the way people look at you. I could see if it's something egregious. But the point is, and you guys may have seen that I've had some stuff said about me and some things that have been implied about me elsewhere, and you don't see me firing up alive over it. Why? Because I'm a coward? Maybe. No. I told somebody one time who asked me, and I said that I can feel the hurt and the fear and the anger and the outrage and why would somebody say that about me? They know that's not true. But because I recognize my shadows and because I love them, they're part of me. All my people pleasing stuff has turned into feeding myself first to make sure that I'm okay, that I am emotionally secure, that my physical needs are met. And my people pleasing has turned into loving and giving and caring. I don't care what they say about me. I know the truth. God knows the truth. But that's a hard thing to get to. Because people do not engage or back down or walk away, so the cycle continues. Hang on just a second. Sorry. Yes, your peace is more important than their drama. No, not a coward. Takes courage to walk away or not respond to personal attacks, regardless of real life or YouTube. Yes, that's true. I think it's more about being heard. It's very hard to not be heard. I've had to take the time to be okay with speaking in silence for myself. Yes. Can we all try and stop the innuendos? Looking at you. Yeah, no, it's no innuendos. And it happens all over the YouTube streets. It's like street gangs, man. Street gangs. Bunny, come out and play, yay. Nah. No. And here's another thing I want to talk about. And that's white knighting. White knighting has nothing really to do with shadow work. But I mean, and we'll dig into shame and in some other stuff in some future episodes if you guys want. If not, we can just leave it here and go on to tinfoil hat stuff from now on. But like the Fisher King, and that's it. You've had to be okay with not knowing why for so much. Why would they do that? Why would they say that? Why? And as I say all the time, we can't assume intentions on people, because most people, because of these shadow things, because of the motivations that are unconscious to them, they don't even know why they're doing it. How am I supposed to know if they don't even know? Sometimes we can look at them and say, yeah, I see the hurt. I see the hurt beyond that, or I see the insecurity beyond that, or the trauma. But until the person themselves recognizes that, accepts it for what it is, and that's when we can actually meet meet our unmet needs. I was going to talk about white knighting. I know the only time that I've really been in deep stuff is when I've taken it for other people that I feel like, they're done wrong, or whatever, and God bless your hearts for white or silver knighting or whatever. Um, and I know so many people that have been hurt because they've defended me, or they've gone out and they've stood up for me, and I appreciate that. I truly do. But I know that every one of you that's done that for me, I've told you, you don't have to. You don't have to do that. I have a voice and I can speak up for myself. And I know the one time that I really got in trouble, I was trying to white knight for somebody else. I was trying to clarify a situation. I was trying to be the mediator. And then I'm like, yeah. And yeah. Most of the fights I've ever been in are for someone else. Yeah. And we have to be at peace for not getting the answers we seek. We can't control everything. To be honest with you, the older I get, I'm lucky to control my bowels, if you know what I mean. I've realized that I have no control over anything except my perception of what's going on. And that only comes from recognizing things. And, I've told you before, shadow work isn't a one and done. This isn't like, I'm going to do this for 2 weeks and I'm going to be perfectly fine. No, this is years off and on. You hate people too? Good advice. Get out of here. I'm not saying I hate people. I love you, Reason. I think it's important to have a circle you can share your reactive response for other opinions or point of view. Also, not to hold it in and cause yourself hurt. Exactly. That is perfect. Because you have to vent that. That's what I think a lot of some of these text messages, like, recently we had 2 of the mature ladies of our universe who started something privately, and then it became public, and then it became YouTube fodder. There are thousands of people that know about this thing that really have no business knowing about this thing. Yeah. So the behind the scenes venting people are just that. My advice is that if you're venting to somebody in Discord, on text messages, in Messenger, whatever the thing is, you think you're all private and wonderful. It's not private and wonderful. Okay? Because who knows when that person's going to turn and they're going to take those private messages and use them against you, or to make you look bad. When actually all you're doing is being human. You're being hurt. You're not failing the course. Everybody passes the course. You see red when someone is hurting or lying about someone. Yes, exactly. I'm not the be all end all. I'm not some oracle. I am incredibly flawed, which is why I say I'm not I'm not a licensed professional. I do have some professional advice and some backup, you know, as far as working through this stuff. This is just you and me learning about things together. So if I say something up here doesn't mean it's gospel. It means that's what I feel like. But when someone is hurting or lying about somebody, what I tend to do is go directly to the person that's being hurt or lied about and love on them and be their emotional wall, their emotional barrier, their whoopee blankets, you know. Yeah. Good. Yes. You vent like you're posting it publicly. Yeah, because ultimately in the YouTube world, it's probably going to end out public somewhere. And if not, someone is going to take something. We're not hurting anybody specific. Someone's going to take something that was really a good intention, and they're going to twist it into something wicked and something horrendous. Grandma say gospel. Gospel. It's probably better than attacking the bullies. Yeah. Yeah. In my experience, it is. As being a support for someone while they're going through something, because honestly, the way I look at white knighting and standing up for people and going on panels and saying, what you're saying is a lie and all that kind of stuff, that feels good at the moment. And there are some people that, get their eyes opened by it. So I understand people wanting to do that. But I also, on the other hand, I look at that as feeding the trolls. Feeding the trolls. You did. People are going to twist things. They're going to manipulate the truth, which kind of goes into a tinfoil hat that I have planned. I have found any action, no matter how minor, can be twisted and used against you. Exactly. Exactly. And so the point is, feed me, Seymour. Feed me all night long. Don't feed them. Don't feed them. It's not worth it. More importantly, it's not worth losing your peace. It's not worth losing your security, the comfort that you have. To go after these people. Because it just feeds them. It just feeds the drama. So when we get down into what makes me want to do that? Why do I do that? We need to label our emotions and our feelings. Because once you have something identified, once you identify something, then you can work. Then you can work with it. You can understand it. It's like people say for alcoholics, until an alcoholic or a drug addict recognize that there's a problem, they're not going to get help, or the help isn't going to stick. They might go to rehab for you because the family intervention came in and said, we're worried about you. You need to go to rehab. They go to rehab, but they come back out and they just start again. Why? Because down in their heart, they didn't see it as a problem. They're not dealing with the underlying issues that cause them to want to self-medicate, to get out of their reality, their fear, their feeling insufficient, or that sort of thing. So once we can label something, once we can say, "Oh, I'm ashamed of that," I'm ashamed that. I'm trying to think of something I was ashamed of. Oh, okay. No, I'm not going to use that. That's not a good one. But it is something that I worked through. But, maybe you were a bully when you were little, or maybe you killed kittens. I don't know. I'm really bad at analogies. But the point is, until you recognize the shame and the story that's attached to that shame and how it's making you respond, how it's making you self-sabotage, or how it's making you fond and people please, or how the shame is making you, not apply for that job, or not going forward with your degree, or not, completing that huge craft project that might make you internationally famous artist. Whatever the case is, until you realize what that is and actually recognize it, just recognize it. Say, yes, I see you. But here's the big question. Here's the big question. How many things have you worried about that didn't happen? You can understand the underlying issue, but it may not help. You can know your life, but it may not change you to a point. Well, that's where the shadow work comes in, is when you see something that happened in your life that caused you pain or caused you grief. And I'm using these as a very, very high level, very surface level kind of thing. Oh, I know if I start to white knight or want to be the savior with a capable adult, I know it's projection of my own desire to be protected from something, not for children, animals, or vulnerable, though. Exactly. And I think a lot of us have had kind of lost part of our childhood because we didn't have the safe environment where we could be vulnerable. We didn't have the place where we had somebody where we could talk over our needs. And you might have what you think is a need that's totally irresponsible and just off the chart, just ridiculous. But the point is, if you feel like you need it, maybe it's just a want, but you feel like you need it, like kids when they get denied the toy or the candy, and they freak out because they feel like they need that thing. Those things cause issues if they're not worked through. And that's what we're doing with shadow work, is we're working through all of those things that have happened in our past that cause us issues now. And like I said, some things, if you like it about yourself, if you like being an asshole, makes you feel great, go for it. Go for it. Be you, do you. But I think the majority of my honey bunnies want to be at peace. They want to feel secure. They want to not worry, not have anxiety, and when we get down into our shadow, oh, I wish these images, these pictures would kind of congeal into something that seemed like a rational thought, that I could express it to you. Content, perhaps. Yeah. Starting the walk, hold someone's hand until you're stable enough to let go. Exactly. I remember right after getting my degree in psychology, I stood up at a family gathering and said, "Do you all not see the elephant in the room?" Didn't go well. No, it usually isn't. Because you might see the elephant in the room, but everybody else might not believe in elephants. They might not believe that there's an elephant. They might not believe there's a problem. And that's when it comes to the point, instead of white knighting and trying to get your point across. Why can't you people wake up and see this thing that's going on? Ah. Instead of doing that, you work in yourself. You work in yourself. Why is it so important to get these people to understand the elephant in the room? And then what ends up happening is you can see past that obstacle. You can see around it to where the desired outcome is, and you can make a plan instead of just running headlong into the obstacle until you're so hurt yourself that you end up emotionally passing out. If you hide, yes, and half a life, I have no idea what that means, but I love you. I love you. Is this making sense? Hiding was maybe the easiest part, ironically. Probably. Probably. See, it's so easy to, hang on just a second. Bear with me. Okay, I'm back. Sometimes it's just so much easier to just repress it, to just repress it and to, dang it, I was looking for something, just to go with the flow, just to go with the flow, just to not create wave. 5 journals later, to not really deal with anything. And here's the point with that, okay? If you've gotten to that point where you don't want to deal with anything, you can walk away and ignore it, separate yourself from it. Or you can come to the point in yourself where you say, they're not going to change. You can having these heated political or religious discussions over Thanksgiving, not going to change somebody. And you could avoid that. It's kind of a partial walking away thing. Or when you see around the obstacle and where you want to be, where you want to meet with other people. Avoidance for you causes self-doubt. Self-doubt. Biggest self-sabotage there is. What if that doesn't happen? What if they make fun of me? What if they laugh at me? What if I fall on my face? What if Tanya Harding comes up and bashes me in the kneecap before my trials? Oh no, sorry. That's something from my past. But the point being, with shadow work, as you incorporate all the things that you think were wrong or that were repressed, or, maybe my mom yelled at me because I was just too much. I asked too much. I needed too much or whatever. And then that goes down into maybe I asked too much or needed too much because my mom wasn't available for me. I had my parents around me most of the time, but children should be seen and not heard. So basically, the things I needed for emotional growth, maturity, for society and how to get along with people, for communication, for emotional regulation, all that stuff was just ignored. It was ignored. And so I had unmet needs. So me looking at me being too much, because my mom, kept telling me, knock it off, you're just bugging me, blah, blah, blah. Maybe that went into her neglecting me because she had something going on, because she was dealing with something, and whether that's her own emotion and trauma, or whether, it's stress or whatever the thing was. But as we dig down deep into these things, we can understand what the pain is. We can have more compassion, number one, with ourselves, and number two, with other people. And when you grasp those things, when you wrap your arms around them and say, come here, dirty little child Sherry, come here, you're all covered in poo, and, you're being a bad girl. Come here. And love that part of yourself and realize, yes, maybe you acted that way because it's a survival tactic. Maybe you acted that way because you were in defense mode. Whatever the thing is. No emotion, no laughing loud or crying. Seen and not heard. Yep. I think you can communicate, but if not heard or received, walk away until they approach you. A lot of people want perfection academically. Why you didn't get an A? A B plus? Why not an A? Still overachieve for his approval. It's hard to break that cycle. Exactly. After sharing a trigger and being met by silence, you feel guilt and ashamed of yourself. Caused me to shut down and close off. It also causes me to feel I need to protect myself from them. Yes. Yes. And you do not have to be physically abused to suffer. Emotional abuse occurs less seen. It's true. Emotional abuse, and it doesn't even have to be abuse as we think about it. It doesn't have to be, you're no good, or why can't you be like your sister, or, what an idiot you are. It doesn't have to be that. It could be something, like I said, an unmet need where you say, hey, look what I did, or, my kid did something great. I'm so proud of it. Woohoo. And the reaction that you get back is, eh, that's nice. Your brother did that better first, whatever. Do you see what I'm getting at? There's a layer there. There's a layer there. And that lack of acknowledgement, that lack of support is just as damaging as if somebody yelled and screamed at you, as if some adult came and tried to, threaten you or beat you or something. Those are all painful things. And there's not a scale in the heart and the mind. There's not a class 3 felony where, that's somebody punched me. But a class 1 misdemeanor is somebody broke my heart because they just totally ignored me, or they made light of something that I was proud of. And we can't change those things. We can't change people's reaction, but we can change our reaction to them. And when we get to a place where we're mindful enough and we understand ourselves, then we can actually love ourselves and accept ourselves. Right. It's not a competition about what causes pain. Pain is pain. My ex cuts out our kids when they do something he doesn't like. It's heartbreaking. Yes. Yes, it is. It is heartbreaking. And so that's what we're doing here with the shadow work, is to recognize these things. The things that cause us pain, the things that steal our peace. And once we understand them and we recognize them in ourselves and we're able to accept them, forgive ourselves, forgive other people, move on, love ourselves, become strong within ourselves, then we're able to have that ripple effect, like Dietz said, the pebble in the pond. Then it radiates out to other people, to our family, to the people that are hurt around us. And I always say you cannot debate someone's feelings. Exactly. Why even try? But when it comes down into recognizing the hurt and the pain and the trauma and there's all the shadow things that we've shoved down in there, when it comes to recognizing those things and embracing them and realizing that we're all human and you have the grace and compassion for yourself that you show other people, it's kind of like an Ouroboros. That's a snake eating its own tail. The Ouroboros symbolizes that all wisdom that you need is within yourself. And this is not, especially here in Western culture, thinking of yourself and putting yourself first and your own self-affirmation and self-love and self-protection and whatnot is often labeled as selfish, like it's something horrible. But, like was said earlier in chat, you can't pour out of an empty cup. You need to put on your oxygen mask first before you help anybody else. It's not selfish. And I think a lot of our mental health or mental illness problems are that we're forced to look outside into a big society thing. What you're doing to affect other people, the people around you, or blah, blah, blah. What about me? What about you? So if you can start by loving yourself, that's the greatest place, because whether you're religious or not, you're made in God's image. You have the God spark within you. And if you believe that your deity, your creator, is loving, and that you're part of all of these things, then the only way to change your vibration is to love and start with yourself. The smallest and the best way to do that is gratitude. And that's your homework for this week, is gratitude. So in your journal, every day, I want you to look for 3 things that you're grateful for. And looking at my journal, I started being grateful for the fact that I have running water in my house, that I was living inside. A lot of people out there don't have that. No, we're not getting into a mass debate about religion and higher powers. No, that's another time. But yeah, just something you're grateful for. I know some of my journal prompts for my gratitude were, and I actually have a video of it. I was sitting outside smoking one day, and there was this little tiny frog that came along, and he was just hopping on the sidewalk in front of me, and it made me so freaking happy. I mean, I felt like a kid. Oh my God, look at the froggy. Scream. And I put that in my gratitude journal. I was grateful to have that experience. So anything, gratitude, write down 3 things a day that make you happy. Aw. Yes, Prince Harry. Do you guys have any questions? Because I'm pretty much done for tonight. I love you. I love you so much. And I'm just sharing stuff that has helped me. I'm not there. Oh God, no. I'm older than most. I have more experience under my belt. I don't have all the answers though. But you guys, when we get together, we've got this collective brain, this collective heart that I love so, so much. I felt like crying there for a second. So in the description of the video, in my about section, and in my outro video, there are helplines. If you specifically are a veteran or part of the LGBTQIA plus community, or if you're just having a hard time and you just need somebody to talk to. I know that I like talking to strangers every once in a while, because they don't know me, they don't know the situation, and they can just hear me ramble on, and then they can give. It's not like I walk up to strangers in the street crying out loud, no. But like helplines, I called the first time because I was in the process of trying to unalive myself. I've called several times since then just to have somebody to talk to. But there are helplines. Oh, all you are awesome. Love you so much. And I will see you next week. Well, actually, I'm going to do Burden. I need you to call me because I want to do a thing about Megan's Law, which is the registered sex offenders. People trying to repeal that so that we don't know who's registered around us. And a couple things about autism and wandering, like like Sebastian in the news. Love you. I'll see you soon. Grandma hugs. Bye, guys.